Let me ask you something, Steve. Before Obama left office, John Kerry went to the South Pole. Any idea why?
Well, yeah, I believe he was summoned there, and I'm telling you, by summon means that there is a how do I say this, extranational or supranational group of very evil entities, and I'm not even going to say that they're human. I believe personally, Dave, I believe they're fallen angels. I want to make something clear. After 40 years, fallen angels are not demons. A demon is a disembodied spirit. Fallen angels do not die. Demons can get cast out, but they can re-enter into the different hosts. So John Kerry was summoned to the Antarctic. Now, we have trees down there, and, obviously there's all the different countries working together. But while that was happening, people have got to understand, why would a secretary of, the head of the State Department, why would he go there, Secretary of State? Yeah. And why would he go there and spend the amount of time there, knowing that Obama had been there secretly, the Pope had been there, the Patriarch Kirill of the Russian Orthodox Church had been there, all of the world's dignities and power. And by the way, power brokers, what my friend, who is a new friend, told me, is he said it's like the who's who, and this was just 2 weeks old, Dave. I don't know if I've said this, maybe I did on a podcast or something I did, but he told me that it's the who's who. World leaders are being summoned. Who is powerful enough? Let me ask you the question. I mean, obviously I think we can conjecture, but who is powerful enough to basically command and demand the presence of the world's most powerful religious figures and also the world's most powerful political figures?
I don't have names to put on them, Steve, but I can place them, I think, at the proper level. They're at least a level above Rockefeller and Rothschild.
Very good, very good. And Rockefeller and Rothschild, if anybody knows the history of the Rothschild, they do worship Satan openly. They worship him with very clear. So it would have to be someone above them. By the way, that's a really good answer because, most people just stop there and say, I'll go further. I think Jesus gave us the understanding. The love of money, not money, but the love of it is the root of all evil. The control of the money of the world is the control of all evil. And once the people of the world wake up, Dave, with the derivatives, now this is really interesting. There is a supernatural element controlling the finances of the world. Jesus said the whole world lies in the evil one. He didn't say part of it. He didn't say a portion of it. He didn't say just the right hand or the left hand. He said the whole, the entire world lies in the evil one. So they who control the money of the world and basically use money as their power are the ones that are orchestrating behind the scenes. And who was tempted by Satan? Well, Jesus was. Jesus was told if he just bow down and worship Satan, that all the kingdoms of the world, that Satan would give them back to Jesus. And Jesus rebuked him and said, obviously, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. But the point is that at some point, Satan held a deed until the cross that Jesus, if you will, redeemed back the authority over the earth. But it's not yet manifested because there's going to be war on the planet. So going one step further, the secret technology and the hidden technology of the ancients has always been controlled by a group of keepers, Keepers. As I've tracked this, it goes back to the time of Egypt. And when I talk about the Egyptian brotherhood, when I talk about the Egyptian priesthood, I'm not talking about the Egyptian brotherhood of contemporary times. I'm talking about when Francis Bacon, who some people believe was Shakespeare, in talking about, in writing, New Atlantis, he was talking about advanced technology and science which you could not put into understanding. I mean, this is in the 1520s, and that a group had entrusted him and them. And obviously, you're talking about one of the most famous, if you will, scientific and intellectual minds of its day, Sir Francis Bacon. So what's interesting to me now is that all of the Antarctic pyramids and all of the hidden technology is going to be revealed. So why is this critical right now? Well, first of all, those who control the scenes from under the ice are soon to appear and basically make their presence known. Now, will this be the great deception? Remember that obviously Dr. Mengele succeeded in twinning, in other words, being able to, produce twins, and also it's believed that with help from some very bright scientists, he also perfected cloning. Human cloning. And human cloning isn't based on the natural progression, you got to grow up as a normal clone through childhood, like the boys of Brazil or whatever. But no, you can accelerate the mitochondria, and these guys can grow clones. Now, what's fascinating, most people say, well, I don't believe that. You're just out there. You've been drinking something. No, I haven't. I've been trying to partake of the fountains of living water, and as I understand this, it becomes more and more specific. You talk about different people talking to you. About a number of years ago, I knew some guys who were very highly placed in the world of black ops. They were active four-star generals. And when they explained to me how advanced cloning was and how quickly you could download a person, they told me two terms, okay? It was interesting. They called the actual, in other words, a Dave Hodges, you or Steve would be the actual, but anything duped off of us would be dupe 1, 2, 3. So it's interesting that people would always remark that even seeing Obama or some different foreign dignitaries or well-known people always seem to have different scars on their head or different size earlobes or different size this or different size that. I can't say for sure that those guys are cloned, but I will tell you this. I was on Coast to Coast. This is a very important story. And I had made the statement, and some of you may have remembered this. I said, what would happen if the world's leaders were replaced with controlled automatons or controlled leadership that were taking their orders from, if you will, some central command? What would happen? Well, I was told again by another general that a certain individual in Brussels went so crazy over that statement that he literally went into a rage and supposedly off some of his own bodyguards. Off means took their lives. Now, can I prove that? Absolutely not. But I will share this with you. It's been hard, Dave, when writing about the things of bringing Jurassic giants back to life, whether they're woolly mammoths or the dodo bird or whatever, only to hear last week that they found dinosaur, if you will, protein that they can extract live DNA from in blood vessels. When Michael Crichton wrote Jurassic Park, it was ahead of its time, but it's already being done. So the things of mythology are being done, and that's where, again, it gets back into Hitler. Hitler was convinced that he would be the one to bring about a new world order, and it would be the ultimate 1,000-year reign of the Ubermensch, or the Superman. Now, I want to share something. And I detail it, people will argue, but there are specific friends of Hitler's that talked about him acknowledging that he became literally possessed with demons. Those closest to him claimed to him to have been possessed. So we know from the Bible that when someone dies, that evil spirit goes out looking for another home. What would happen? I'm just saying this. What would happen if the DNA of Adolf Hitler had been preserved in such a manner? And what would happen if, now this is just me, if he and some of the most evil people in history have been, how should I say this, genetically reconstituted, and the evil spirits that were in them we're back, okay? That's not very far-fetched, and I can tell you point blank that when you've got, I think it was Ted Williams who went cryogenic and others who have been cryogenically having their bodies frozen. And let me just, if people think this is wild, the Egyptians mummified their dead, especially those of importance and royalty, and they put their organs in what are called canopic, C-A-N-O-P-I-C jars. The DNA that is extractable, remember, every pharaoh was believed to be the descendant of the gods, to be a god himself. So what I'm saying is, imagine this. Imagine the most evil people in the world. And Hitler kind of set the stage with the Ahnenerbe, a group of special SS, his bodyguards, and some of the smartest scientists that Germany had to search throughout the world for genetic anomalies. He was looking for the genes of giants. By the way, Mengele had a real fascination, and I'm talking not like what we would call little people, but I'm talking, what the Hawaiians would call the Manhuni, or the Pedro the Mountain Mummy, the if you will, the little people are the little creatures. Now, again, I documented, Dave. People go, oh, no, man, now he's into fairy tales. I'm telling people this, that the world we're coming into now is so far advanced that anytime you see any genetic engineering experiments announced or what it's going to mean, you're only being let in on probably 40-year-old technology. And where they are now is so advanced that simply, Dave, I don't think people can embrace this because, they've been so dumbed down, divorced from history. So every time you write an article or I write an article, we go on the show together, we have to bring people into what I would call a historic perspective. And there's a generation that simply, unless God opens their eyes, cannot understand what we're talking about, because to them, the history of this country or the history of the world is no longer relevant. The only thing that's relevant is the new game of, and I'm not a gamer, and I'm not picking on gamers, but new video game, and those now, even gamers are sending me emails saying, do you know how evil this is getting? And I said, oh yeah, I think I do. To divorce a person from reality and substitute a virtual reality in which you define all the imagery, the sounds, the infrasonics, and the, if you will, mind control or neuro-linguistic programming, I think you can see that mind control has gone a long way beyond some of the early 1960s and early 70s spy movies. We're there, and we're there in such a fast and furious mode now that unless God, and I'm praying that God will, and I believe God is, He's showing the sins of the leaders. It's just like this. If you see statements of people going back to Hitler, and people now, to liken the current president to Hitler is such an aberration of history, because Hitler hated Jesus Christ. He hated him. And you've got Donald Trump asking men of God and women of God to pray for him. And when he says, and look, this is in defense of Donald Trump, because I don't get it, Dave. Maybe you can explain this to me, and I'm serious. I'm asking for your insight. What is it that would supposedly possess professing Christians to slam him? And look, moral failures, brother, I got moral failures, but I've got Jesus to wipe away my sin. But why is it that when someone comes and tells the truth and begins to show leadership that upsets the globalist desire to turn this into a giant communist hellhole, meaning the United States, that there's so few people that, and when I say few, there are so few voices that can articulate to put it into perspective? This is a supernatural battle. I'll tell you this, Dave, I've never seen so much hatred for someone who's asking for prayer and saying the pulpits have got to be freed up to speak their minds as I have now. It just is astonishing to me.